lot of love to both of these teams here. But obviously, we really want to see Damascus Gaming take this lead, and we're already seeing the first run begin here. We're seeing Charles is actually holding first by a very slight margin here. To come into this first slide. And we enter the first grass section. Exotica is holding a really good lead here with Neil holding right behind him here. Coming up into the first dirt section. This is where Exotica feels the most at home. He loves being on dirt. Neil and Exotica are almost tire on tire right here. Coming into the next dirt section here. A little bit of a loop-de-loop coming into the grass. Neil is just holding a really good lead right now with Exotica just holding up right behind him. Charles is also right behind by 400ths of a second right here. They're going to be coming into the identity. Neil's holding that first place. If they can maintain this with no issues, they're going to get an ace off the break. That's what we're going to see. Neil and Exotica. Neil coming across with a 105. Exotica behind by a 100th of a second with Charles in third and Nats in fourth. Damascus Gaming up 3-0. We love to see it here at Damascus. We want all the aces in the deck. And once again, we are seeing... It's always the first part of the map. These players usually hold pretty well. See Neil now coming into first place here, and Exotica holding right behind him. But Air White is not giving much room for air here. They are holding right next to Exotica. And that's what you're going to really see as we go further and further into the semifinals and then into the grand finals as well. The teams will not be making many errors. You're going to see much closer runs here back to back as Neil and Exotica come into the loop here into the grass section. And we're seeing a very similar line run as it was the last time with Neil holding that first and Exotica in second as they both enter into the identity with Nats right on Exotica's bumper. And Nats actually shoots past Exotica here. Oh, and Neil actually clipped the checkpoint. It's going to be a draw. That's a surprising one right there. I thought Neil was going to make it across there, but he actually ended up hitting the checkpoint, which gave just enough to put Air White on the board with 1, Damascus Gaming with 4 as we go into the third run on reps. I actually love watching them race on this track. Reps is very fun to watch in my opinion. That final identity is very, very cool in my opinion. And it is not an easy identity either, by the way. As I think Nats clipped a little bit. Unless that was lag on my end. I don't know, but it looks
like a slight clip.
I'm not sure. Unfortunately, my connection is not as good as it could be, y'all. I apologize. I will not rat out my internet provider, but they are not the best. I think Nick's actually clipped with his front right tire just a little bit there. Neil up in first with Nats.
It's a little bit, but enough to cause Nats and Charles to take the lead on.
So now we need to see what Nix is going to do here to come in to try to get that time back as Neil just holds that first place. You know that Nix is telling him, hey, you got a little bit of a good lead here, but try to stay consistent as we go into this identity.
This is where Exotica is going to start making that change. You'll see here shortly.
Nix is really... Oh, and it looks like Nats actually falls off, and Exotica almost snipes. You want to talk about a close finish right there.
We're
unbelievable.
16ths.
That I don't... Whoa.
Thousandth of a second.
Charles was feeling the pressure on that run right there, and Exotica was coming to snipe it from him, but Charles shut the door. This is exactly the kind of competition we love to see. We love seeing those close finishes right there. As we watch Exotica and Neil just battle right now for first and second here. Nats does not want to let Exotica get in front of him as we come into the first dirt section here. Neil is still holding that first place position as Nats kind of overtakes Nix for a second there.
For a split second, but again, Exotica dude is good on dirt, and he knows what to do. He's
I
able
do
to
have
hold
to
that.
say as well, and I will add this in. If
Oh,
you
no,
look,
Exotica took first place.
Exotic is up in the lead right now. Neil has been holding very consistent lines on this track. I have not seen him push too hard,
Nats
which I am totally fine with at this point right now. Nats is kind of holding up in first place right now. Nix is right on his bumper with Charles following Nix. I think Neil dropped back to fourth right now. And Nats actually makes a mistake right there, clipping as he lands, giving Exotica the chance to come into first place here. And we have an ace as they were tire on tire.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not see Neil that entire time. I did not realize they were on the same line.
That might have been an error on my side right there. I think that Neil and Exotica were just literally tire on tire right there. And it puts Damascus Gaming into position to get track point on reps. Air White can make no mistakes. They have got to get all aces from this point forward.
You know what? I'm going to find a way to get an in-game sound mechanic for us, like an emote.
I'm down.
For whenever we get an ace, I'm going to find a horn. I don't know if you know the horn from the Vikings the football team. I love that sound. And I would love to get that as an ace sound for us.
This copyright strike was brought to you by the Vikings. And here we see Nixotica holding first place really well right now with Neil right behind him. Nixotica is just showing the good lines that he holds consistently here as he goes into dirt, followed by this loop right here.
This is where Nixotica accelerates again. Now, I will give him props. I get stressed out whenever I do a loop just because you're hoping that that entry is what you need. Because if not, it's all fun in terms, carry on what Jesus take the wheel, because at that point you're just hoping.
And here we see it though as well.
We're getting another ace with Charles shortly behind. I'm not sure what happened to Nats. I hope he fell on the little bit.
I think made an error back at the beginning of the track. I'm not sure which position he did it exactly, but it did end up costing him position pretty hard there. And as Iz was saying there, when it comes to those loops, it's all about your entry. You really cannot correct yourself too much when it comes to entering into a loop. Once you're in it, you're committed. So it's all about that entry. And that's why, coming out of that dirt, it's so important. That's why you see Nix and Neil. It's all about how they exit the dirt and then enter into that loop on reps. For Nix, it's not that big of a deal. He's such a phenomenal dirt racer. But for a lot of these other racers, man, those transitions from dirt into loops, bobsleds, whatever you're going to see in these competitions, man, it is not easy to pull off. And here we're going to see back and forth. This is a very fun track to watch here.
I love watching this track.
It's such a fun one. Do.
All the technique that is required for it is it's phenomenal, man. It's a gorgeous track. I love the transitions. I love the different angles, and then the technical that happens here very shortly, where you have to, race the remainder of the track in reverse. It's insane. And again,
we're gonna see this bug slide right here as Nixotica's holding first. That beautiful slide right there as they come into the next grass section here.
This is probably. Oh, here we go.
And we're coming into the reverse section. This is not easy to do.
This is gorgeous.
It is not. I don't even know if I can pull this one off, boss. They're going to weed through these obstacles right here. I think Nixotica made a slight error there, but Neil's going to come across first here. If Nix can come across third, it's going to be a victory. 2-1 Damascus Gaming with Neil coming across with a 5.7408 on the clock.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this the map last regionals that Neil set a PR on?
I believe this was one. The other one that he did as well was actually Agility Dash. He pulled a PB on that as well. And that just goes to show, by the way, Neil feels very at home in these very technical maps. He loves doing these. And that's just, it just shows what kind of player he is, man. Like, he loves doing these. And here we see Nix really coming into first place here. Neil's just right behind him as coming into the bug slide. They both nail that slide beautifully coming into this next section as we line up for the grass here. And we're going to be entering into the reverse section of back and forth as Nix maintains that first place. Neil is right behind him. Charles is trailing Neil by not a lot. Got to avoid these obstacles perfectly here. Looks like it's going to be a really good finish to get through that checkpoint just right. And they do. Damascus Gaming takes an ace. Charles was gaming the entire time.
The dude is good. I respect Charles. He is such a great racer.
I mean, you really got to just like just put your hands together for me for like both these teams, man. Neil and Nix are just phenomenal competitors, but everyone that's racing in today's competition, I mean, they're just phenomenal. There's a reason why they made it to day 2.
Agreed. And again, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that Aaron White was a comeback story, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. Oh, nope, I was wrong. They qualified.
Yes, they did. I was about to say, I was pretty sure that they did not drop. Oh, and Exotica actually nicks a little bit there, but was able to recover very well. Good job on him making that recovery.
Very good recovery.
That is not an easy recovery to remake. That is. You
make
a mistake on a bug slide like that, it's going to throw you for a loop. But good job on him. He's really putting pressure right now on Arrow White as Neil maintains that first place position here going into the identity of the map.
He took third.
Oh, Nix unfortunately bumps there. Neil crosses the line first. We see Nats. Charles also is going to come across here. It's going to be a draw here.
Yep.
Charles made a little bit of an error, but his was not unrecoverable for him. Unfortunately, Nix had to do a reset because it actually bumped him off of the track there.
Unfortunately, that was his second one that race. But
and as David just posted in the chat, by the way, if you are not following Nixotica and Neil, they do stream their practices and their scrims live on their Twitch channel, so go check them out if you want to understand, you know, what it takes to get to this level and how much practice and dedication these guys put into this game. Go watch those streams. This is not a game you can just jump on and just be like, oh, I'm gonna be good in a week. I was talking to Nix about this a little while ago. The average time spent to put up good times on a track is at least 20 hours of consistent.
Exotica and Neil take first and second.
Now the question is here, can Neil maintain this across the line as well? Exotica actually makes a mistake right on the checkpoint. We see Neil actually come up there, but Exotica had enough of a lead that he was able to maintain and come across the line second.
For the ace.
Exotica is putting my heart rate through the roof.
Ain't this the truth, my dude? Isn't this the truth? These guys, man, are something else. Now, that also being said, to reintegrate what, Moodles was saying, to include with what David was talking about when he posted their Twitch and stuff, you really got to understand, these guys are putting in hours. And to be completely honest, I guarantee you could look on almost daily and you're going to see Neil and Exotica streaming and just going ham on the practice runs and what they do.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, this is not their full-time job, by the way. Just to demonstrate the amount of dedication. These guys, Neil, he's in college right now, and Exotica works a full-time job. Like, these guys do not have the luxury of being able to spend an entire day just grinding Trackmania back to back. I mean, we would love to get to that level to be able to offer that to these guys, man. But these guys are rocking full-time lives.
Exotica ace. Neil made a slight mistake at the end, but we got the ace.
So that is going to be another track in Damascus Gaming's favor. It is now for the series 2-0. And we're going to be going into the next track here, which is Parkour.
Parkour. If I'm not mistaken, this is Air White's map.
Yeah, Exotica and Neil had a little bit of a struggle with Parkour against Halcyon Dairy. They actually pulled that track off of them. So I'm curious to see now if they're going to be able to really dial this one in.
I think they will.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think they will. And the reason why I say this, I think that was good practice for them. Granted, it kept me on the edge of my seat, riding whatever fingernails I had left. But I think that was enough for these guys to get a warm fuzzy on this track.
Yeah, 100%.
And
you're going to understand as well why this track is called Parkour. The identity is right at the end of this one as both of them go into this ice slide here. And they have to set this up perfectly, by the way, because right before the identity is dirt. So as they come in to this jump right here, you're going to see they come in to the bobsled.
Neil and Exotica holding almost identical lines still.
Going to go into the grass. Now this dirt is very important. You cannot bump or nick these walls if you want to get enough speed to get through this identity. As Exotica and Neil are holding really good speed here. They can make this last jump just right. It's going to be an ace with Charles coming up literally.
Charles within milliseconds of
You want to talk about a close race right there. I was actually concerned from it that Charles was actually going to pull a snipe.
So did I, to be honest, because the way it looked like, it honestly did look like Charles might have had that one.
Honestly, it would not surprise me going back and rewatching that. I think Charles might have had a little bit of a better exit from the dirt section, which gave him a little bit more speed. And that's why, like, with this identity, it's all about how you entered the identity. If you've built up enough speed, and when you go uphill, it bleeds speed. So if you nick those walls, it's really going to cost you on that identity. And we saw it before earlier against Halcyon Dairy. You know, when they would, if they nicked, it would bleed that speed, and they wouldn't be able to complete the identity. Let's come out of the bobsled here, coming into the grass, coming into the dirt now. We're really going to see the importance right now of holding that speed as Neil comes up onto the ramp. Exotica right behind him as he entered the identity of the map.
Charles
holding
is
good
right
speed here. Right Charles is trying to slam the door another ace here, but it's not going to happen as Exotica comes across with the second. Neil with a 5-6, 2-4-8 across the line. It is now 6-0 Damascus Gaming. Arrow White has got to start showing a little bit of life here if they want to get some points on the board. I think they're starting to feel the pressure here as like Neil and Exotic are really starting to dial in. It is really getting difficult for these guys to get in front of them here. But Charles and Nats now showing a little bit of life here. As Nix is right behind Nats. Neil's right behind Nix coming to the ice slide here. Neil takes a little bit of riskier line. It's actually going to end up costing him there with that line. He went for a little bit of a closer run to try to like take some time back, but it's going to end up costing him there.
But it's Exotica still doing what he does best, and that's, keeping those lines.
And by the way, I will say there, that don't bash Neil for that run right there. I mean, that is really, and Nix actually takes first. He had a much better dirt run there than Charles did, which gave him a lot more speed coming in here. So now we see Exotic cross the line first, Charles, and we actually see that Neil may be bringing a victory. Oh!
Is it gonna happen?
It's a foe!
Victory.
What a victory! Good job, Neil. Good job.
My heart rate cannot take this anymore. I'm losing feeling in my fingertips.
You know what you need? You need
what you saw there, and I really want to go back and talk about that real quick. So Neil took a riskier line. He saw that they were behind Air White. He took a riskier play to try to get a little bit of extra time made up against White. It did not play out the way that he wanted it to. That's why he kind of stood out there. But that's Neil, man. Neil is a tech player. He likes to run riskier lines. It's what you're going to see him do as he comes through this ramp right now. Exotica following right behind Nats as going to the bobsled. Neil holding a really good line right now as Nix ends up overtaking Nats as they come into the dirt here. I think Neil might have clipped a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Not enough to stop him. Not enough to stop him.
Should have enough speed to make this final jump on the identity. Can he put it through? And he can. It's going to be an ace, which does give parkour to Damascus Gaming. It is now
GG, boys. 11-1 final score in map 3.
It's not even the grand finals, and I can't feel my face. I hope you have the defib standing by, boss, because I don't know if I'm able to survive much longer here. Getting nice. By the way, that is a good-looking skin right there.
It is.
So, what we could see here, freestyle could be the last track that we see in this round. It is really up to Air White to see if they're going to be able to force a track 5 here.
Here we go. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is our final pick, was it not?
I believe you are correct on that. Although I'm not 100% sure here. Although I will say that Neil and Nix are actually very comfortable on freestyle. No, so this one was actually, so in the bottom left, you see there, this actually was picked by Air White.
It was, okay.
But I will say that Nix and Neil are both very comfortable on freestyle. As you see, Neil is selling in third place right now, coming into this jump right here. Outstanding job by Neil there, reducing his air time to get more speed and time. That's one thing about Trackmania, you do not want to spend a lot of time in the air here. As we see, Neil takes a lot of air on that jump right here. They have to build up as much speed as they possibly can coming into this identity here. They have to get just enough traction to just reach over this and make it. And it actually looks like Charles is going to place first here with Nick Exotica and Neil second and third. And Nat's not able to complete it there with a draw taking place, 1-1.
Draw for map number 4.
We just see Nix right now is just in his element here. He loves being in dirt. As they come out of the dirt section, Neil holding that first place right now.
Charles right on his tail. Charles is a phenomenal racer. This guy is good. He's fighting the entire time.
Here we see that Charles is still kind of holding the first place here. We'll see if Nix and Neil can reduce their airtime here enough to get in front. Oh, Neil like actually clips hard.
Oh.
He is going to drop back hardcore there. It's up to Nix now to get across this line first.
Pulling over. Yep, Nick took first place.
Nix has got to hit this with as much speed as he possibly can. He actually like wobbles a little bit there, which might cost him a little bit. We'll see if he has enough speed to get across this. I think he does. He's going to get across the line here first with Charles right behind him. Nat's across.
Looks like another draw.
That bump, unfortunately, really ended up hurting Neil. It's a little bit of flare there, though. It's going to cross the line. That was a really good job by Neil there, reducing that air time, but it did end up catching him because he cut a little bit too close there, which is why he went face first into that post.
These guys are just so great.
Love watching this take place, man. I mean, it's amazing to me how I didn't even know that this stuff was happening until about 3 months ago, and I just can't take my eyes off the screen.
Agreed. Like it's hard to do this commentary because I'm just like, I want to keep talking, but at the same time, I'm just sitting here like, this is insane. Like it's such a gorgeous game. The transitions, everything that happens.
Oh, Charles actually clips right there.
Little time mistake, allowing Exotica and Neil to take lead.
But he does recover very well off of that. We see next one out first.
The moment of truth. Now, I don't know if you know this and you were watching at all, but these guys are still accelerating on these turns. If you're watching Neil's tires, he's flicking them, which is allowing him to still get that acceleration and grip.
Nix just made a mistake right there. Unfortunately, he did. We'll see if he can get in front of Nats here on this final. Nats actually bumps as well, but he actually recovers from it, forcing a third draw in a row.
Looks like another draw. Unfortunate, but again, these guys, it just shows how good Air White and Damascus are. Air White's holding them own. You want to talk about a comeback? Like, I'm over here getting tingly, man.
Yep. The adrenaline is hit. I'm entering shock. There might be an ambulance out my front door again. After the first regionals, they're going to know my name. There we see Neil holding a really good first place line, but Charles is just right on top of him right now. This right now is turning into a track of milliseconds as they're racing.
It just shows how much these two teams have put into the effort on this track specifically. Like both teams know what they're doing and know what they need to get done, and they're just doing what they have to do to make sure that they maintain. This isn't an uphill battle, but this is fighting up a mountain right now between these two teams.
Oh, absolutely. Like when you look at how well they're both competing on this map right now, I mean, they are both just clawing for points. It looks like Charles actually clipped on the way down.
Did. Let's see
if they can make this
can
jump.
do this.
Neil bumps a little bit, but I think he might have recovered. If he can get across, it's an ace for Damascus Gaming, 6-3.
Oh, Neil just barely getting past it for an ace.
That was unbelievably close. Charles has got to feel frustrated coming down that ramp and catching the way that he did. But it does give Damascus Gaming now an edge, and Air White does not want to give Nix and Neil that edge, especially when you're talking about this is a match track. If they can pull this off, you do not want to give Nix and Neil points. When you start giving them points, they start getting that confidence, man. It gives them such a boost.
It allows them to have that breathing room where they're not.
And you don't, yeah, and you do not
want
want
to give them that breathing room. You want Neil and Exotica to feel comfortable. You've already messed up.
100% on that. And Neil actually bumps hard off the checkpoint on that transition. No. It's up to Nix now to get through this dirt section, which we know that he can do. Nix is very comfortable in dirt as he lines up.
Is in third. Oh, never mind. He just fell back on. Actually, it's a tie. Nats and Neil have the exact same timeline. Oh, never mind. I said corrected. Nats is picking up speed.
We'll see now if Nix can get across this line first. He's going to be able to do that right now. Let's see what's going on with Neil back here. He's still on the ramp.
It, and he took first place, allowed for a draw again.
100%. This is absolutely insane what we're seeing here. Neil comes across the line, 7-4, which it now puts Damascus Gaming in range to end this round right here and now. If they can pull off an ace, that is not what you want to see. Yeah, if you're Air White right now, you do not want to see that graphic in front of you. That is not a good thing to see. But Neil and Nix are pushing hard to end it if they can right here.
You do not want to see the red and black in front of you right now if you're Air White. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Neil made a mistake, but Exotic is still holding. It looked like Neil hit his front right tire right now here.
There is still time for him to catch back up here, especially with how technical this map is with that identity. He's trying to reduce his air time here. He does a really good job with that. It looks like Nats actually made a mistake there dropping back. See Exotica holding first. Charles is right behind him.
With Neil shortly behind, he's making a comeback. He's increasing his speed. He's staying low. Less airtime than usual. Neil knows what he's doing right now.
Charles is actually gaining on him right now. Let's see what happens here. And Nix actually ends up sniping at the end. It is a victory for Damascus Gaming. I thought Charles actually had it for a second there, but Nix got enough time.
Made a snipe. Look at that time difference. 39 thousandths.
You do not want to see what is happening right now if you are Air White. They have absolutely no options in front of them. They have got to pull every ace out of the deck. If they cannot do that, Damascus Gaming is going to end their run for the NCSA Regionals number 2. Right now, we're seeing that Neil's holding a really good run right now with Exotic coming into first place here. Neil's back and first. They're just kind of bouncing back and forth, racing each other, but Nats is right behind Exotica here as they come into this jump, reducing that air time. They both come through it very well. Neil scared me to death with that, almost clipping that post right there. As we come into this right here.
Making it nice and smooth on the little air jump.
You've got to
Looks like Neil actually had a little bit more air time.
As they come into this identity right here, they're going to be reaching up here. They both make it across.
They make it across.
It's an ace. Damascus Gaming has officially ended Air White's run in the NCSA Regionals. Man, hats off to Air White here.
That being said, Damascus is now into the grand finals.